I had 9 hours. 9 hours between hearing my daughter-in-law whisper, "The nursing home van comes at 6 a.m. tomorrow," and the moment I'd packed my bag and disappeared into the night. 9 hours to erase 8 years of invisible servitude. 9 hours to reclaim the one thing they'd tried to take from me, my dignity. They thought I was weak, a burden, a relic taking up space in their house. What they didn't know, what they'd never bothered to check, was that the house wasn't theirs. It was mine. Every square foot, every deed, every dollar of the $535,000 I'd paid in cash when I bought it for them 8 years ago. I'm Vincent Morris. I'm 69. I taught algebra for 33 years, which means I know how to calculate value. And that Christmas Eve, surrounded by people who saw me as disposable, I did the math. The answer was simple. I left, and I took everything with me. But before I tell you how I did it, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. And don't forget to subscribe, because this story has twists you won't see coming. It started 8 years ago. December 2016, my wife Linda died in our bedroom on a Tuesday morning. Pancreatic cancer. 6 months from diagnosis to hospice bed. I held her hand while she took her last breath. The night before she died, she squeezed my fingers. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Take care of Greg and the boys," she said. "Don't let them struggle." I promised. I swore it. Greg was our only child. 34 years old then, married to Courtney for 6 years. 2 boys, Kyle was 8, Mason was 6, good kids. Or so I thought. Linda died on December 13th. By December 20th, I'd listed our house for sale. The house we'd bought in 1985. The house where we raised Greg. Where Linda planted roses every spring. Where we celebrated 33 anniversaries. I sold it for $385,000. Not much for California, but it was paid off. No mortgage, clean title. Then I took that money, plus the life insurance, plus my savings, and I bought Greg a house. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, backyard with a pool, good school district, everything a young family needed. $535,000. Cash, no loan, no contingencies. My name on the deed because the title company needed a buyer of record. I told Greg I'd transfer it later. "Just paperwork," I said. "Just temporary." He hugged me, said, "Dad, you didn't have to do this." Courtney smiled, said, "We'll take good care of you." I moved into the basement bedroom. "They need space for the boys," I said. I wanted them to be comfortable. I kept my promise to Linda. I thought I was giving them security. Turns out, I was giving them power. The first year was good. I won't lie about that. I cooked breakfast. Greg would come upstairs, smiling, coffee in hand. "Dad, you make the best pancakes." Kyle and Mason would run in, backpacks bouncing. I'd drive them to school, pick them up, help with homework. Courtney worked part-time then, marketing consultant. She'd thank me. "Vincent, you're a lifesaver." She'd pat my shoulder. It felt genuine. I cleaned. I did laundry. I mowed the lawn. I didn't mind. I needed purpose. Linda was gone. The house was quiet. This family, my family, gave me something to do. I told myself I was helping. I told myself they'd appreciated it. But there were small things, little cracks I ignored. Courtney correcting me in front of the boys. "That's not how we do bedtime here, Vincent." Her voice pleasant but firm, like I was staff. Greg saying, "Dad, maybe let Courtney handle the grocery shopping. She has a system." As if my 35 years of feeding a family didn't count. Me eating after everyone else? Not because they asked, because there were only 4 chairs at the dinner table. They'd sit, talk, laugh. I'd stand at the counter, wait, eat when they were done. The basement was cold, concrete floors, thin walls. I could hear everything upstairs. Footsteps, conversations, the boys playing video games. I bought a space heater, paid for it myself. I told myself it was just adjustment. New routines, new dynamics. But that first year, when Kyle turned 9, I made him a birthday cake. Chocolate, his favorite. Courtney cut it, served everyone, forgot to give me a slice. I didn't say anything. I should have seen the signs earlier. 8 years. That's 2,920 days. I counted them later. Every morning I woke at 5 a.m., made coffee, started breakfast, eggs, toast, sometimes oatmeal. By 6:30 the kitchen smelled like bacon. By 7 everyone was fed. I drove the boys to school, to baseball practice, to soccer games, to friends' houses, birthday parties, doctor appointments, dentist appointments. I sat in parking lots waiting, reading library books, watching the clock. I cooked dinner every night. Roast chicken on Mondays, spaghetti on Tuesdays, tacos on Wednesdays, whatever Courtney requested. I'd ask what she wanted. She'd tell me. Sometimes she'd change her mind at the last minute. I'd adjust. I did laundry, folded clothes, put them away, Greg's work shirts, Courtney's gym clothes, the boys' school uniforms. I cleaned bathrooms, vacuumed carpets, wiped counters, scrubbed floors. I never asked for money, never complained. Later, I calculated it. Childcare rates in California average $20 an hour. Housekeepers charge $18. Added up, 8 years, 40 hours a week minimum, $192,000. That's what I would have charged, if I were staff. But I wasn't staff. I was family, or so I thought. The boys grew. Kyle became a teenager, tall, loud. He stopped saying thank you, stopped making eye contact. Mason followed his brother, rolled his eyes when I spoke, left his dishes on the table, expected me to clean up. Greg worked long hours. Sales director, always on his phone, always stressed. He'd come home, kiss Courtney, ruffle the boy's hair, nod at me. Hey, Dad. That was it. Hey, Dad. Courtney stopped saying thank you altogether. I kept a mental tally, not for revenge, just to remind myself I wasn't crazy. I'd given them everything. They'd learned to take everything. I kept the deed in a lockbox under my bed. Metal. Combination lock. The kind you buy at Office Depot. Inside, the yellow deed. Property deed for 428 Sycamore Drive. Recorded December 28, 2016. Owner, Vincent Eugene Morris. Not Greg, not Courtney. Me. I'd open that box sometimes. Late at night when the house was quiet, I'd pull out the deed, run my fingers over the paper. Creased. Faded ink, but clear. My name. In year 5, 2021, I almost transferred it. It was August. Hot. I was upstairs getting water. Greg was in the living room, on the phone. I heard him say, Dad's getting slower. Maybe we should think about options. I froze. Glass in my hand, ice clinking. Options meant nursing homes, assisted living, places where old people go to disappear. I walked back downstairs, unlocked the box, stared at that deed, and I thought, not yet. Something felt off. I couldn't name it then, just instinct. The way you sense a storm before the sky darkens. I put the deed back, locked the box, pushed it under the bed. In California, verbal promises don't transfer property. Only signatures do. Only recorded deeds at the county office. I knew that. I taught algebra, but I understood contracts. Linda and I bought 3 houses in our marriage. I knew how titles worked. Greg never asked about the deed, never mentioned it. I think he forgot. Or maybe he assumed. People assume a lot when they're comfortable. Courtney definitely assumed. She'd say things like, when you're gone, we'll finally own this place outright. I'd nod, say nothing. That box stayed locked for 3 more years. They built their kingdom on my foundation. I could collapse it with one signature. 6 months before Christmas, I did something I'd never done before. I lied. I told Greg I had a dentist appointment. Tuesday morning, 10 o'clock. He barely looked up from his laptop. Sure, Dad, take the Honda. I didn't go to the dentist. I drove to Martin Greaves's office. Martin was my age, 69. We'd known each other since 1994. He handled Linda's estate when she died. Good man, honest. His office smelled like coffee and old paper. He shook my hand, smiled. Vincent, it's been a while. I sat, pulled the deed from my jacket pocket, slid it across his desk. He unfolded it, read, looked up. This house is yours, 100%. I know. Does Greg know? He knows I bought it. He thinks it's his. Martin leaned back, steepled his fingers. Vincent, legally, they have zero claim. You could sell tomorrow. They couldn't stop you. What if I needed them to leave? He raised an eyebrow. Eviction? I nodded. 60-day notice, California law. You're the property owner. They're not tenants. No lease, no rent. They're family occupying your home. You give notice. 60 days. They leave. That's it? That's it. Clean and legal. I sat there, hands folded, thinking. Martin said, Is everything okay? I don't know yet. He wrote down a number, slid it to me. Eviction attorney, if you ever need it. I folded the paper, put it in my wallet. Then I asked about senior living communities. Martin mentioned Oak Ridge, 55 and older, townhouses, independent living. My sister lives there, loves it. I drove past Oak Ridge on the way home. Looked nice, quiet, clean. I wasn't planning to use it, but I needed to know I could. 2 weeks later, I toured a unit. 2 bedrooms, bright, warm. The manager, Helen, was kind, 60-something, smiled a lot. You'd love it here, she said. Maybe I would. I told myself it was just a backup plan. Deep down, I knew I'd need it. Let me tell you what 535,000 means. That's not pocket change. That's not a gift you forget. That's a lifetime. Linda and I saved for 40 years. We drove used cars, we packed lunches, we didn't take vacations. We lived small so we could retire comfortable. When Linda died, I had a choice. Keep the money, live easy, travel, enjoy my 70s, or give it to Greg. I gave it to Greg. I bought that house in cash. No mortgage, no debt, clean title. I handed my son a life most people spend 30 years paying for. And what did I get? A basement bedroom, cold floors, a space heater I bought myself. I paid property taxes every year, $6,400 annually. I never told Greg, I just paid. Online, from my checking account. He never asked. Never wondered why the county never sent a bill. Courtney once said, I remember this clearly. She said, when you're gone, we'll finally own this place outright. No inheritance taxes or anything. I was folding laundry. I stopped. Looked at her. She was scrolling her phone. Didn't even look up. I didn't correct her. I just let her believe it. Because here's the thing about ownership. It's not about who lives somewhere. It's about whose name is on the deed. I'd look at that house sometimes. The house I bought. The pool I paid for. The roof I replaced in 2019. $18,000. My money. And I'd think, they believe this is theirs. They've rewritten history. In their minds, I'm the guest, the charity case, the old man who lives in the basement. But paper doesn't lie. The county recorder's office doesn't care about feelings. It cares about names. And the name on that deed was Vincent Eugene Morris. They built their kingdom on my foundation, but they forgot who owned the land. That was their first mistake. Early December, 3 weeks before Christmas, I signed a lease. Oak Ridge Senior Living, Unit 14B, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kitchen, small patio facing a garden. First month, last month, security deposit, $5,400 total. I wrote the check. Helen smiled. Welcome to the community, Vincent. Move-in date? January 1st? She nodded, handed me keys. We're excited to have you. I toured the unit again. Empty, clean, carpet soft under my feet. Windows let in real light. Not basement dimness. Actual sunlight. The kitchen was small, but it was mine. No one would change the menu. No one would criticize the seasoning. The bedroom had space for a real bed. Not a cot. A bed. With a headboard. And a nightstand. The bathroom had a shower with grab bars. Considerate. Safe. I stood in that empty living room, looked out at the patio, imagined mornings, coffee, quiet, no footsteps overhead, no demands. Helen showed me the community center, chess club on Tuesdays and Thursdays, book group on Wednesdays, garden plots you could rent for $10 a month. I met 2 men, Carl and Dennis, both widowers, both retired, Carl was 71. Dennis was 68. They were playing checkers. They waved. I waved back. It felt peaceful. I drove home, parked in the driveway, sat in the car for a minute. Greg's car was there, Courtney's SUV, the boys' bikes on the lawn, my house, my driveway, my lawn. But I felt like a visitor. I went inside. Courtney was cooking. She glanced at me. "Dinner's at 6. We're eating in the dining room tonight. Can you eat in the kitchen?" "Sure." "Thanks." I went downstairs, sat on my cot, looked at the lease agreement in my hand. January 1st, 3 weeks away. I told myself it was just a backup plan, but I'd already paid the deposit. I'd already chosen furniture in my mind. I'd already imagined a life where I didn't feel invisible. 3 weeks later, Christmas Eve arrived. October, 2 months before Christmas. Courtney's sister Rachel came for dinner. Rachel was 42, blonde, loud, worked in real estate. I cooked pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans, gravy from scratch. I served it, carried plates to the table, set them down. Rachel looked up, smiled at Courtney. "Is this the help?" She said it like a joke, light, casual. Courtney laughed, actually laughed. "No, that's Greg's dad. He lives in the basement." Her tone dismissive, like I was furniture, like I was something you tolerate. Rachel said, "Oh," picked up her fork. Greg was there, right there, sitting at the head of the table, my table, in my house. He didn't say anything. He looked at his phone, scrolled. I stood there, holding the empty serving tray. My hands were shaking. I turned, walked to the kitchen, set the tray down, gripped the counter. My heart was pounding. Not anger, not yet. Just humiliation. I washed dishes, hot water, soap, scrubbing. The sound of their laughter carried from the dining room. I ate later, standing. Cold pot roast. Alone. That night I lay in bed, stared at the ceiling, heard footsteps upstairs, Rachel leaving, Courtney saying, "Come back soon." I thought, she didn't mean it that way. But her laugh said otherwise. That was the first crack. The first real crack. Not the biggest, not the worst. But it was there. And once you see a crack, you can't unsee it. I started noticing more. The way Courtney spoke to me in front of guests. The way Greg avoided eye contact. The way the boys treated me like I was invisible. Small things, paper cuts. But paper cuts add up. Eventually you bleed. I told myself I was being sensitive. Too proud. Old-fashioned. But I wasn't wrong. I see that now. Kyle turned 16 in November. Tall, almost 6 feet. Voice deep. He looked like Greg. Acted nothing like him. Or maybe he acted exactly like him. I don't know anymore. I offered to teach Kyle to drive. I taught Greg when he was 16. Patient. Careful. We drove around empty parking lots. Practiced parallel parking. Kyle looked at me. Said, "I'd rather Uber than sit in a car with you." He said it in front of Mason. In front of Courtney. Courtney was unloading groceries. She heard. She said nothing. Greg heard too. He was on the couch. Laptop open. He said, "Kyle, that's enough." But there was no weight in his voice. No consequence. Kyle shrugged. Walked away. Mason was 14. He used to hug me. Used to say, "Grandpa, watch this," when he learned a new skateboard trick. Not anymore. Now he'd complain about my cooking. "This tastes like old people food." He'd say it at dinner. Courtney would smile. Not agree, but not correct him either. I'd make his favorite. Mac and cheese. The kind with 4 cheeses, baked with breadcrumbs on top. And he'd take 2 bites, push it away, order pizza on his phone. Kyle told his friends. I heard him once, upstairs, on speakerphone. "My grandpa's basically our maid. It's embarrassing." His friend laughed. I was folding their laundry at the time, their underwear, their socks. I set the basket down, sat on my cot, stared at the wall. I'd raised these boys. I taught Mason to ride a bike. I helped Kyle with algebra, my subject. I went to every game, every recital, every parent-teacher conference when Greg and Courtney were too busy. And this is what I got. Contempt. Embarrassment. I realized something then. I'd failed. Not them. Me. I'd given them everything. They'd learned to expect everything. I'd taught them that my worth was in what I could do for them, not who I was. I'd given them everything. They'd learned to take everything. 2 weeks before Christmas, I was in the basement, reading. Tuesday afternoon, 2 o'clock. The floorboards above me were thin. I could hear everything. Footsteps, conversations, running water. Courtney was upstairs, on the phone. I heard her voice, clear. I can't do this anymore. She was pacing. I could track her steps. Kitchen to living room, back to kitchen. Silence. She was listening to whoever was on the other end. Then, "He's a burden, Rachel. I know that sounds terrible, but he is." My book fell from my hands. "There's a place in Riverside, Whispering Pines, $4,200 a month. They have memory care, assisted living, whatever." I stood up, moved closer to the stairs. I shouldn't have listened, but I couldn't stop. Rachel said something. I couldn't hear her, just Courtney's replies. "Does Greg agree? He will. He always does what I say." My chest tightened. "I'll handle it. We'll tell him it's for his safety, that we can't care for him properly. He'll understand." More silence. "I'll call them next week. Get the paperwork started." She hung up. I stood at the bottom of the stairs. My legs were shaking. I sat down, put my head in my hands. They were planning to send me away, to a nursing home, without asking, without telling me. I pulled out my phone, searched, "nursing home against Will, California." I read for an hour. Elder rights, consent requirements, legal protections. They couldn't force me, not without a conservatorship, not without a court order, but they could pressure me. They could make life unbearable. They could manipulate me into agreeing. I thought about Linda, what she'd say, what she'd do. Then I thought about that lease, Oak Ridge, Unit 14B, January 1st. I didn't know when they'd make their move. I just knew it was coming. 2 weeks later, I found out exactly when. The week before Christmas was brutal. Monday, Courtney gave me a list. Grocery shopping, specific brands, specific stores. 3 different stores because she wanted organic cranberries from Whole Foods, spiral ham from Costco, and fancy butter from that boutique place downtown. I drove, shopped, loaded bags, unloaded, put everything away. She checked the bags. "You got the wrong butter. They were out of the one you wanted. Then you should have called me." I was 70 years old. I'd fed a family for 45 years. But I didn't say that. I just nodded. Tuesday, she told me she was hosting Christmas Eve dinner. Her parents, her sister, her cousins, 10 people total. "I need you to cook everything, Vincent. Turkey, sides, dessert, everything. Of course. And I need you to stay out of sight when guests arrive. We'll call you when it's time to serve." Stay out of sight. In my own house. I went to Target, bought gifts for Kyle and Mason, gaming headset for Kyle, $180, sneakers for Mason, $200. I used my own money, my pension check. Greg saw the bags. "Dad, you don't have to do that." Courtney walked past, muttered, "He's trying to buy their love." I pretended I didn't hear. Christmas Eve morning, I started cooking at 6 a.m. Turkey in the oven by 7, stuffing, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, rolls, pumpkin pie, apple pie. The kitchen was hot. My back ached. My knees hurt. I'm 69. I have arthritis. But I kept going. 10 hours. I cooked for 10 hours. No one said thank you. At 5:30, Courtney came in, inspected everything. "This looks fine. Dinner's at 6. Serve at 6:15. Fine. Not good. Fine. I carved that turkey like I was carving away the last piece of my dignity. Dinner was at 6 p.m. By 6:15, everything changed. The dining room was full, 10 people. Courtney's parents, Dan and Susan, both mid-60s, her sister Rachel and Rachel's husband, 2 cousins I'd never met. The table looked beautiful, white tablecloth, candles, my food, everything I'd spent 10 hours cooking. I carried the turkey in, 22 pounds, golden, perfect. Set it in the center. Greg stood, started carving. He didn't ask if I wanted to, he just did. I sat at the far end, not at the head. Greg sat there, my chair, my house, his seat. Courtney's mom, Susan, smiled at me. "Vincent, this smells amazing." Thank you. Courtney laughed, small, sharp. Yeah, Vincent's good for some things. The way she said it. Some things. Like I was a tool, a can opener, useful when needed. I smiled, said nothing. Picked up my fork. Kyle opened his gift. The gaming headset, $180. He pulled it out of the box, looked at it. Cool, I guess. That was it? Cool, I guess. Mason opened his. Sneakers, $200. He tried them on, shrugged. They're okay. Courtney's father, Dan, was talking about golf. Rachel was talking about real estate. Everyone was laughing, talking over each other. I sat there, eating turkey, feeling like a ghost. Then Courtney asked me to bring more stuffing from the kitchen. I stood, walked to the kitchen, scooped stuffing into a serving bowl. When I came back, Rachel was telling a story, something about a client. Everyone was laughing. I set the bowl down. Near Mason, he looked at it, looked at me, and he said, loud enough for the whole table to hear, Grandpa's food tastes like nursing home crap. The table went quiet, not silent, quiet, like someone had turned down the volume. Rachel giggled, covered her mouth, but she giggled. Dan smirked, took a sip of wine. Susan looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. Courtney laughed, actually laughed, and then she said the words that ended everything. I should have left then, but I wanted to see my grandsons open their gifts. Courtney's laugh echoed. Hi, sharp. She said, well, he'll find out soon enough what nursing home food tastes like. I was standing, holding the empty serving bowl, metal, heavy. My hands went numb. Courtney continued. She was smiling, looking at Rachel. The van comes at 6 a.m. tomorrow. We're done playing caretaker. The van, 6 a.m. tomorrow. The room tilted. I gripped the edge of the table, steadied myself. Greg was cutting turkey. His knife paused, but he didn't look up, didn't say anything. Kyle smirked, went back to his phone. Mason looked down, maybe uncomfortable, but he said nothing. Rachel, Courtney's sister, laughed again. About time. Old people smell anyway. Dan nodded, raised his glass. Here's to freedom. Susan shifted in her seat, looked at her plate, silent. I stood there. 10 people. 10 people who heard Courtney announce my disposal like I was garbage, like I was expired food. And not one single person defended me. The turkey grease was on my hands, slick, warm. The bowl felt cold. The room was spinning. No, not spinning, narrowing, like I was looking through a tunnel. Voices continued around me. Someone asked about dessert. Someone else laughed at a joke. I set the bowl down, slowly, carefully. My hands were shaking. Courtney glanced at me. Vincent, can you bring out the pies? Her voice, casual. Like she hadn't just announced she was discarding me. Like she hadn't just humiliated me in front of her entire family. I looked at Greg. He was eating, fork to mouth, chewing, eyes on his plate. He wouldn't look at me. I said, I need to check the oven. My voice sounded far away, hollow. No one responded. I walked to the kitchen, through the doorway, down the hall, to the basement stairs. My legs were numb. My chest was tight. I couldn't breathe right. I didn't check the oven. I went to my room, and I started packing. I could still hear them upstairs. Laughter, clinking glasses, Rachel's voice. We should do this more often. Courtney. Absolutely. Now that we'll have more space. More space. Because I'd be gone. I sat on my cot, hands on my knees, breathing in, out, in, out. My chest hurt. Not pain, pressure, like someone was sitting on my ribs. I looked around the room. Basement, concrete walls, space heater in the corner. I bought that. Cot with a thin mattress, metal frame, no headboard, a folding chair, a lamp, a small dresser. This was my home for 8 years, this cold gray room. Upstairs, they had 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, a pool, all mine, all paid for with my money, my life savings, Linda's life insurance, and they'd given me this, the basement, and now they were taking even that. I heard Courtney's voice, talking about the nursing home, talking about how they'd visit on weekends, how it was for the best. Dan said, "You're doing the right thing. He's too old to live alone." "I'm not living alone. I'm living with you. In my house." Susan said something I couldn't hear. Soft, maybe objecting, but not loud enough to matter. Kyle said, "Can I have Grandpa's TV?" Courtney, "We'll see." They were dividing my things before I was even gone. I stood up, walked to the closet, pulled out my duffel bag. It was already half packed. I'd been preparing, subconsciously, folding clothes, setting aside essentials, because part of me knew. Part of me had been waiting for this. I opened the lockbox under my bed, took out the deed, yellow, creased, Vincent Eugene Morris. I folded it, put it in the duffel. Then I took Linda's photo, the one from our wedding. 1976. She was 23. I was 25. Both of us smiling. I packed it. I had 9 hours until midnight. That was enough. I wasn't angry. Anger is hot. I was ice. I moved methodically. No rushing, no panic. Duffel bag on the cot. Unzipped, clothes first. 2 pairs of jeans. 3 shirts, underwear, socks, 1 sweater, my heavy coat, toiletries, toothbrush, razor, medications, reading glasses, Linda's photo, the deed, my wallet, phone charger. That was it. Everything that mattered fit in one bag. I didn't take the TV, or the lamp, or the space heater. Let them have it. Let them divide it up like vultures. I sat on the cot, checked my phone. 7:35 p.m. Upstairs, dinner was winding down. I heard chairs scraping, voices saying goodbye, the front door opening, closing, footsteps, Courtney and Greg cleaning up, dishes clattering, then silence. I heard them go upstairs, to their bedroom, the one with the king-size bed, the one in my house. I waited. 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m. At 10:30, I heard the TV turn off, heard them settle into bed. I sat in the dark, holding Linda's photo. I whispered, "I kept my promise," but they broke theirs. I thought about the boys, Kyle, Mason. I'd loved them, raised them, taught them to ride bikes, helped with homework, went to every game, and they'd learned to treat me like I was nothing. Maybe I'd enabled it. Maybe I'd taught them that love meant servitude. I set the photo on top of the duffel, zipped it closed. I pulled out my phone, opened Uber, scheduled a pickup. 11:50 p.m. Destination 428 Oak Ridge Lane, Unit 14B. Driver accepted. Toyota Camry. 4 minutes away, I stood, picked up the duffel, looked around the room one last time. 8 years. This cold room, this basement. I walked upstairs. I wasn't angry. I was ice. The house was dark. Everyone asleep. I walked through the kitchen. The dishes were still in the sink, half washed. They'd left them for me, for tomorrow. There wouldn't be a tomorrow. I walked to the living room. Christmas tree in the corner. Lights blinking, red, green, gold. Presents underneath. The ones I'd bought for Kyle and Mason. Still wrapped. They'd open them tomorrow. Maybe they'd remember me. Maybe they wouldn't. I paused at the front door, looked back. This house. My house. I bought it. Every brick, every window, every floorboard. I gave it to them, and they turned it into a prison. I thought about leaving a note. Something. Anything. But what would I say? Thank you for 8 years of invisibility? Sorry I expected basic respect? No, they didn't deserve a note. They didn't deserve closure. I left my house keys on the entry table, the spare set. The ones I'd used for 8 years. I wouldn't need them anymore. My phone buzzed. Uber outside. I opened the front door, stepped into the cold. December air, sharp, clean. Snow was falling, light. Dusting the driveway. A Toyota Camry idled at the curb. Headlights on. I walked down the steps, duffel over my shoulder. The driver, a woman maybe 40, smiled. "Merry Christmas Eve!" I got in, set the duffel on the seat. "It is now." She pulled away. The house disappeared behind us. I didn't look back. They'd sleep soundly tonight. In my house, in my beds. It was the last peace they'd have for months. At 12:03 a.m., December 25th, I disappeared. By Boxing Day, they'd understand what they'd lost. The drive took 22 minutes. The woman, her name was Carmen, tried to make small conversation. Working tonight? No, moving. Oh, new place? New life. She glanced at me in the rear view, smiled, didn't push. We drove through empty streets, streetlights, stop signs, a few cars. Most people were home, with family, with people who loved them. I looked out the window, watched the neighborhoods pass. At 12:25 a.m., we pulled into Oak Ridge, quiet, dark. A few porch lights on. Unit 14B, my unit. I thanked Carmen, tipped her $20. She wished me Merry Christmas. I unlocked the door, stepped inside, empty, clean, quiet. No voices upstairs. No demands, no footsteps, just silence. The good kind. The kind that feels like peace. I set my duffel down, turned on a light. The living room was small, but it was mine. I walked to the bedroom. No furniture yet, but I had an air mattress in the closet. Helen had left it there. In case you need it before your stuff arrives. I inflated it, made a bed with the blanket from my duffel. Lay down, stared at the ceiling. My phone rang. I looked at the screen. Greg, I let it ring. It went to voicemail. He called again and again. I turned my phone off. At 1:30 a.m., I finally slept. Real sleep. Deep, dreamless. Back at the house, they were sleeping too. Greg, Courtney, Kyle, Mason. They didn't know yet. Didn't know I was gone. Didn't know what was coming. They'd wake up Christmas morning expecting me in the basement. They'd find an empty room. And that would be just the beginning. He didn't come back. Not that day. Not ever. I woke at 7:30 a.m. Christmas morning. Sunlight through the window. Real light. Not basement dimness. My phone was still off. I turned it on. 43 missed calls. 27 voicemails. 62 texts. All from Greg. I didn't listen. Didn't read. Just saw the numbers. I made coffee. Instant. No coffee maker yet. But it was hot. Strong. I sat on the air mattress. Sipped. Listened to the silence. Meanwhile, back at 428 Sycamore Drive, Kyle woke first. 8 a.m. Went downstairs, saw presents under the tree. Yelled, "It's Christmas!" Greg and Courtney came down. Mason followed. Rubbing sleep from his eyes, they opened presents. Laughed. Kyle got a new phone from his parents. Mason got a skateboard. At 9 a.m., Courtney said, "Where's Vincent? He usually makes breakfast." Greg shrugged. "Probably still sleeping." At 9:30, Courtney went to the basement. Knocked on my door. No answer. She opened it. Empty. Bed made. No duffel. No clothes. No me. She called up the stairs. "Greg, he's not here." Greg came down. Looked around. "What do you mean?" "I mean he's gone. His stuff is gone." They searched. Closet, bathroom, nothing. Greg called my phone. Voicemail. "You've reached Vincent. Leave a message." He called again. 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 Courtney. "He probably went for a walk. The van's coming at 10. We'll deal with it then." 10 a.m. The van arrived. Whispering Pines Assisted Living. A man in scrubs knocked on the door. "We're here for Vincent Morris?" Greg. "He's not here." "Do you know where he is?" "No." The man left, confused. Greg called me 12 more times by noon. I didn't answer. Courtney. "He's being dramatic. He'll come back." But I didn't come back. Not that day. Not ever. The house they'd taken for granted was never theirs to take. December 26th, 10 a.m. Greg was in the living room, pacing, phone in hand, calling me. Again. Voicemail. Again. A knock at the door. Greg opened it. A man in a suit, clipboard. "Greg Morris?" "Yes." "You've been served." He handed Greg a manila envelope. Turned. Left. Greg stared at the envelope, hands shaking. He opened it. Inside, legal documents. Thick. Official. The cover page. 60-day notice to vacate. Greg's legs gave out. He sat on the couch. Read. Property located at 428 Sycamore Drive, pursuant to California Civil Code Section 1946. You are hereby notified to vacate the premises within 60 days. Property owner, Vincent Eugene Morris. His hands were shaking. He flipped pages. Copy of the deed. Yellow, faded, but clear. Owner, Vincent Eugene Morris. Recorded December 28, 2016. Property tax records. All paid by Vincent Morris. Purchase receipt, $535,000. Cash, December 2016. A letter from a law firm, Greaves and Associates. Mr. Morris is exercising his legal right to reclaim his property. You have 60 days to vacate. Failure to comply will result in formal eviction proceedings. Greg read it twice, 3 times. Courtney walked in. What's that? Greg handed it to her, silent. As she read, her face went white. This is a joke. It's not a joke. We own this house. No, Greg's voice was hollow. We don't. We never did. Courtney looked at the deed, at Vincent's name, at the date. He bought this house. For us. 8 years ago. I thought he'd transferred it. He didn't. Silence. Courtney sat, stared at the papers. Greg whispered, "We have 60 days." Outside, a for sale sign would appear in 2 weeks, but they didn't know that yet. Greg called me 23 times on December 26th. I listened to one voicemail, the first one. His voice was shaking. "Dad, please call back. We need to talk." I deleted it. The second, "Dad, this isn't funny." Delete. The third, "Dad, you can't do this." Delete. I turned my phone off. Courtney panicked, really panicked, the kind where her voice goes high, shrill. "Call him, fix this!" Greg, "He's not answering." "Then go to him, find him." "I don't know where he is." She stared at him. "What do you mean you don't know?" "I don't know where he went." Courtney called a lawyer, her cousin's friend, left a message. "We need help. Eviction notice, call me back." The lawyer called back that afternoon. She explained the situation. He said, "Do you have a lease?" "No." "Do you pay rent?" "No." "Is your name on the deed?" "No." Silence. "Then he has every legal right. You have 60 days. I'm sorry." Courtney hung up, looked at Greg. "We can't afford this neighborhood, not on our own." Greg knew his salary was good, but not $3,000 a month rent in this area good. They'd have to move, somewhere cheaper, smaller. Kyle, "What's happening?" Greg, "We're moving." "Why?" "Because the house isn't ours." Mason, "What do you mean? Grandpa owns it. He's selling it." Kyle, "Where'd he go?" "I don't know." On December 28th, Greg drove to Oak Ridge. The gate guard stopped him. "Name?" "Greg Morris. I'm looking for Vincent Morris, Unit 14B. The guard checked a list. "I'm sorry. Mr. Morris requested no visitors." "He's my father." "I'm sorry. No visitors." Greg sat in his car, outside the gate, staring. Inside, I was drinking coffee, playing chess with Carl. I didn't look out the window. On day 4, Greg drove to Oak Ridge. The gate guard wouldn't let him in. January 10th, 2 weeks after the eviction notice, a man in a polo shirt knocked on the door. Real estate agent, Tom Bradley, 50-something, professional smile. "I'm here to photograph the property. Owner requested." Courtney, "We're still living here." "I know. We'll work around you. Listing goes live tomorrow." He walked through the house. Camera, notepad, measuring tape. Kyle and Mason watched TV. Tom walked past them, clicked photos. Courtney followed him. "How much is he asking?" $565,000. Her mouth opened, closed. Tom smiled. "It's a good property. Should sell fast." He left. Courtney sat on the couch, numb. The next day, the listing went live. Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin. Charming 5BR 4BA family home, pool, updated kitchen, great schools, $565,000. Photos of their living room, their kitchen, their bedrooms. Not theirs, mine. Open house that weekend, Saturday. 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. Strangers walk through, couples, families, investors. Beautiful home, great layout. We'll put in an offer. Kyle came home from a friend's house, saw people in his room. "What the hell?" Greg, "Open house. This is so messed up." Mason hid in his room, embarrassed, angry. At school, friends asked, "Why are you moving?" Kyle, "My grandpa's selling our house." "I thought it was your house." "Yeah, so did we." The first offer came in January 18th, $558,000. Cash. Close in 30 days. Vincent, me, I accepted. Martin called. Offer accepted. Close date, February 20th. Thank you, Martin. Vincent, are you sure about this? I've never been more sure. February 20th. 5 days before the 60-day deadline, they had 35 days to pack up the life I'd built for them. Neighbors whispered, "Did you hear? Vincent kicked them out." That's his house? Always was. They had 35 days to pack up the life I'd built for them. February 1st. I was watering tomato plants on my patio. Afternoon, warm, peaceful, a knock at my door. I opened it. Greg. He looked terrible, unshaven, eyes red. He'd lost weight. "Dad, you shouldn't be here. Please, just 5 minutes." I stepped outside, closed the door. We stood on the patio. Greg's voice cracked. "Dad, please, we're sorry. We'll do better. The boys miss you." The boys called my food nursing home crap. You said nothing. Courtney didn't mean... She meant every word, and you let her. For 8 years. Tears ran down his face. "Where are we supposed to go?" "That's not my problem anymore. We're your family. Family respects each other. You made me invisible. Dad, You sat there. Christmas Eve, 10 people. Courtney announced she was sending me away to a nursing home without my consent. And you said nothing. I didn't know. You knew. You've known for years. You let her treat me like garbage. You let your sons treat me like garbage. You ate my food, slept in my house, and you forgot who paid for it. Where are we supposed to go?" I looked at him. This man, my son, I raised him, loved him, gave him everything, and he'd given me nothing. That's not my problem anymore. You had a home. You made it a prison. He tried to hug me. I stepped abward. "Don't. Leave. Now." He stood there, sobbing. I went inside, closed the door, locked it. I leaned against the door, heard his footsteps fade. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, from finality. He called 28 more times. I never answered again. February 20th. Closing day, moving day. I didn't go to the house, didn't need to. Martin handled everything. Signed papers, transferred title, deposited check. $558,000 minus fees. $549,200. It hit my account at 3 p.m. Meanwhile, at 428 Sycamore Drive, a rental truck in the driveway, Greg and Courtney loading boxes, no professional movers. Too expensive. Kyle and Mason helped, sullen, quiet. Neighbors watched. Some helped, most whispered. Can you believe Vincent kicked them out? Well, it is his house. Still, family. Family should have treated him better. Rain started at noon. February rain. Cold, steady. Boxes got wet. Cardboard sagging. Courtney yelled at Greg. "Hurry up!" Greg said nothing. Just lifted, carried, loaded. Their new place, a 2-bedroom apartment, 20 minutes away. Cheaper area, $2,100 a month. Small, cramped. Kyle and Mason would share a room, bunk beds, at 16 and 14. They'd have to change schools, mid-year, February, new kids, new teachers, no friends. The pool table they'd bought, $12,200, didn't fit. They left it. Too big. The patio furniture, $800, didn't fit. Left it. Half their stuff, left behind. Courtney was crying by 4 p.m. Not sad crying, angry crying. "This is your father's fault." Greg quiet. "No, it's ours." She stared at him. "We treated him like garbage. We planned to dump him in a nursing home, without asking, without his consent. In his house. He lived in the basement. We gave him a place to stay. He owned the basement. And the rest. We gave him nothing." Silence. By 6 p.m. they were gone. The house was empty. The new owners moved in the next day. I never went back. They'd gone from a 5-bedroom house to a cramped apartment. I'd gone from a basement to freedom. February 21st, my first full day in my new life. I woke at 7 a.m., sunlight through the window, birds outside, no demands, no voices, no footsteps overhead, just quiet. I made coffee, real coffee. I'd bought a coffee maker, a nice one. I sat on my patio. Garden view, tomato plants, flowers. Helen had planted daisies. Carl walked by, waved. "Morning, Vincent. Chess later?" "Absolutely." I joined the book club. Wednesday mornings, we were reading Steinbeck. East of Eden, I have volunteered at the community center, taught basic math to adults getting their GED, Tuesdays and Thursdays. 2 hours. I felt useful. Not used. Useful. I slept in a real bed. Queen size. I'd bought it. New, with a headboard. And a good mattress. My back stopped hurting. I cooked for myself, whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. Steak on Monday, pasta on Tuesday, salmon on Wednesday. No one complained. No one changed the menu. No one said it tasted like old people food. I deposited the money from the house sale, $549,200. I donated $100,000 to Elder Justice Alliance, a nonprofit fighting elder abuse. The rest, $449,200. I invested. Conservative, stable, plus my pension, $2,200 a month. Social Security, $2,800 a month. Total, $4,000 a month. Rent was the final $800. Plenty left over. I was comfortable, secure, independent. I bought new clothes, nice ones. A winter coat, good shoes. I got a haircut, a real haircut. At a barber shop. I looked in the mirror. I looked lighter, younger, almost. Not physically, but in my eyes. I wasn't invisible anymore. I traveled, took a trip to Santa Fe in March, stayed a week, saw art galleries, ate good food. In April, Portland, rain, coffee shops, Powell's bookstore. I sent postcards to Carl and Helen, not to Greg. I thought I'd feel guilty. I felt light. March 15th, Courtney filed for divorce. Greg got the papers at work, sat in his car in the parking lot, read them twice. Irreconcilable differences. Sole custody of Kyle and Mason, child support, spousal support. He drove to the apartment. Courtney was packing. "What's this?" "What does it look like?" "Courtney, we can work through this." "No, we can't. Your father ruined us." "My father didn't ruin us. We ruined us." "You should have stopped me. You're weak. You let him do this." "I let you do this." "I said nothing when you treated him like garbage. I said nothing when our sons disrespected him. I said nothing when you planned to dump him in a nursing home without asking him. In his house." She slapped him, hard, across the face. He stood there, didn't move. She grabbed her suitcase. Kyle and Mason followed her, silent. "Greg, where are you going?" "My parents. Don't call me." She left. Greg sat in the empty apartment. 2 bedrooms, one now empty. He called me. One more time. I listened this time. Didn't answer. Just listened to the voicemail. "Dad, Courtney left. The boys went with her. I'm alone. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I should have defended you. I should have. I don't know. I'm sorry." His voice broke. He was crying. "I know you won't forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know. I'm sorry. I love you." He hung up. I sat on my couch, stared at the phone. I didn't call back. Maybe someday, but not today, not this year, maybe never. Their family shattered because they forgot families are built on respect, not entitlement. Courtney moved in with her parents, cramped, tense. Dan and Susan weren't happy. Susan to Courtney, "You laughed when Mason insulted him at Christmas." Courtney, "He was a burden." Susan, "He bought you that house." April, Kyle failed 2 classes, English, history, distracted, depressed, new school, no friends. His guidance counselor called Courtney. "Kyle needs support. This transition has been difficult." Courtney, "I know, but she didn't help. She was drowning too," Mason asked one night. They were at Susan and Dan's house. Cramped living room, Mason on the couch, Courtney on her phone. "Mom, why did Grandpa leave?" Because he's selfish. Mason, quiet. Or because we were mean to him. Courtney looked up. Excuse me? I said his food tasted like nursing home crap. At Christmas. In front of everyone. And you laughed. Silence. Kyle called him embarrassing. You didn't stop him. Mason, he cooked every day. He drove us everywhere. He bought us stuff. And we treated him like nothing. Courtney stood, left the room. Kyle overheard. He was in the kitchen. He said nothing, but he knew Mason was right. That night, Kyle tried to call me. Blocked number. Voicemail full. He wrote a letter, handwritten, 3 pages. Grandpa, I'm sorry. I was a jerk. A horrible grandson. You did everything for us, and I treated you like garbage. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I needed you to know. I'm sorry. Kyle. He mailed it to Oak Ridge. I received it May 2nd. I read it twice, sat on my couch, stared at the letter. My hands trembled. Part of me wanted to call him. Part of me wanted to forgive him. But I didn't. Not yet. I set the letter in a drawer. Maybe someday, but not now. Forgiveness doesn't mean going back. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. Kyle was 16. He'd learn. Maybe he'd grow. Maybe he'd become a better man than his father. But that wasn't my job anymore. Maybe one day I'd forgive them. But forgiveness doesn't mean going back. May. Greg's life fell apart piece by piece. Divorce finalized. $15,000 in legal fees. Paid with credit cards. High interest. Child support. $2,200 a month. Spousal support. $800 a month. Rent. $2,100 a month. His salary. $5,200 a month after taxes. Math doesn't lie. $1,200 plus $800 plus $2,100 equals $4,100. Left with $1,100 for everything else. Car payment, insurance, gas, food, utilities. He was drowning. His performance at work dropped. Missed deadlines, distracted. His boss noticed. Greg, is everything okay? Family stuff? Do you need time off? He couldn't afford time off. He started eating protein bars for dinner. $1.29 each. Cheaper than real food. He lost weight, looked hollow. His co-workers noticed. One asked, Why'd your dad kick you out? Greg, honest, because I let my wife treat him like garbage. And I said nothing. Damn. Yeah. Another co-worker. But he's your dad. Shouldn't he forgive you? Greg shook his head. Why should he? I wouldn't forgive me. Silence. June. Greg couldn't afford the apartment anymore. Moved to a studio. $1,400 a month. Cheaper area, 1 room, Murphy bed, kitchenette. He was 42 years old, living like a college student. He'd call the boys. They wouldn't answer. Courtney had poisoned them against him. Finally, Mason answered. July. Hey, bud. Hey, how are you? Fine. School okay? Yeah. I miss you. Silence. Mason, we lost our house because of you. No, we lost it because of me and your mom. We treated Grandpa terribly. He left because we gave him no choice. Mason hung up. Greg sat in his studio, stared at the wall. He'd lost his father, his wife, his home, his son's respect. All because he stayed silent. All because he let cruelty happen in front of him and said nothing. He'd lost his father, his wife, his home, and his son's respect. All because he stayed silent. The story spread. Small town, people talk. Did you hear about the Morris family? Vincent bought them a house, $535,000. Cash. They treated him like a servant. Planned to put him in a nursing home. He evicted them. Church, PTA, book club, grocery store, everyone knew. Courtney couldn't show her face. Her book club dropped her, quietly. No official announcement. Just no more invitations. Her PTA friends stopped returning texts. Her gym acquaintances avoided eye contact. One woman, brave or cruel, confronted her. Whole Foods, produce section. You should be ashamed. That man raised your children for free, and you laughed when they insulted him. Courtney, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're entitled and cruel. The woman walked away. Courtney stood there, holding organic kale, Shaking, her mother, Susan, finally spoke up. June. They were at Dan and Susan's house. Courtney was living in the guest room. Cramped. Temporary. Susan. You need to apologize. For what? For everything. For how you treated Vincent. For what you said at Christmas. Mom. You laughed when Mason insulted him. At dinner. I was there. I said nothing. And I'm ashamed of that. Courtney's eyes filled. He was a burden. He bought you that house. He raised Kyle and Mason while you worked. He cooked. He cleaned. He asked for nothing. He lived in the basement. He owned the basement and everything else. You gave him a basement room in his own house and acted like it was charity. Silence. Susan. You need help, Courtney. Professional help. Courtney blocked most contacts. Retreated into bitterness. She remarried in August. Rebound. A man named Derek, sales manager. Decent guy. He didn't know the whole story. By October, the marriage was rocky. Derek asked too many questions. Why don't your boys see their grandfather? It's complicated. Doesn't sound complicated. Sounds like you messed up. She'd wanted him gone. Now she was the one isolated. August. 6 months after I left. Greg's life stabilized. Barely. Studio apartment. Therapy twice a month. $120 a session. Expensive, necessary. His therapist asked, Have you contacted your father? He won't answer. Have you tried writing him? Greg tried. 3 letters. Mailed to Oak Ridge. I received them. Read them. Didn't respond. Courtney remarried. Already struggling. Derek wanted to meet the boys. Kyle and Mason resisted. You're not our dad. Derek to Courtney. This is a mess. I know. They fought. A lot. Kyle turned 17. Grades improving. Therapy helping. He asked Courtney, Can I see Grandpa? No. Why not? Because he abandoned us. Kyle, older now, wiser. No, we abandoned him. Courtney didn't respond. Mason turned 15. Quieter. Thoughtful. He wrote me a letter too. I received it. Read it. Kept it. Me? I thrived. I traveled. Santa Fe, Portland, San Diego, stayed in nice hotels. Ate good food, saw things. I volunteered. Taught math. Played chess. Read books. I made friends. Real friends. Carl, Dennis, Helen. People who valued me. One Sunday, Greg drove by Oak Ridge, parked outside the gate. Watched. He saw me. In the garden. Laughing with Carl. Planting tomatoes. He cried. Right there in his car. He texted me. First time in months. Dad, I see you're happy. I'm glad. I'm sorry I waited too long to say that. I read it. Didn't reply, but I saved it. Carl asked, Your son texted? Yeah. You gonna respond? Not yet. Maybe never. But I don't hate him. Carl nodded. That's something. I didn't need them to understand. I needed them to feel what I felt. Invisible. I wasn't lonely. I was free. For the first time in 8 years, I wasn't waiting for someone to see me. I'd already seen myself. And that was enough. There's one thing I didn't tell you. Christmas Eve, before I left, before I packed my bag, I did something. I sat at the basement table. 11 p.m. Everyone asleep upstairs. I took a manila envelope. Wrote on the front, 8 years. Inside, I placed a single piece of paper. Itemized, typed, calculated. Invoice for services rendered. Client, Greg and Courtney Morris. Provider, Vincent E. Morris. Period. December 2016. December 2024. Childcare services. 14,600 hours at 20 hour equals $292,000. Housekeeping services. 12,800 hours at 18 hour. $230,400. Transportation services. 4,200 hours at 15 hour equals $63,000. Subtotal. $585,400 family discount, 100%. $585,400. Amount. Due. $0. At the bottom, I wrote in pen, paid in full by love, voided by disrespect. You owe me nothing because you gave me nothing. I signed it. Dated it. December 24th, 2024. 24. I left the envelope on the kitchen counter, hidden behind the coffee maker, where Courtney would find it eventually, when she moved things, when she packed. Greg found it March 12th, moving day, packing kitchen items. He pulled the envelope out, opened it, read. His hands started shaking. He read it again and again. $585,400. More than the house, more than I'd spent buying them their life. He showed Courtney. She read it, pale. She set it down, walked away, said nothing. Greg sat on the floor, kitchen boxes around him, crying. The invoice wasn't a bill, it was a mirror. It showed them what they'd taken, what they'd ignored, what they'd assumed was free. Love isn't free. Respect isn't optional. Dignity isn't negotiable. They'd learned that lesson 6 months too late. The invoice sat in a box. Greg kept it. He keeps it still. A reminder of what he lost, of what he'll never get back. The invoice wasn't a bill. It was a mirror. It's been 8 months now. October 2025. I'm sitting on my patio, morning coffee, sun warm on my face, tomatoes ripening. I planted them in March. They're thriving. Carl walks by, waves. Chess later? Absolutely. I think about Linda sometimes. Wonder what she'd say. I think she'd understand. I kept my promise. I took care of Greg. I gave him everything. But security isn't the same as servitude. Love isn't the same as slavery. I learned something these past 8 months. Sacrifice without respect becomes servitude. Family is earned, not owed. Blood doesn't excuse cruelty. Setting boundaries isn't abandonment. It's self-preservation. I don't regret leaving. I regret not leaving sooner. People ask me, Carl, Dennis, Helen, do you miss them? I miss who I thought they were. I miss the family I imagined. The one that valued me, respected me, saw me. But that family never existed. I built it in my head. With hope, with love, with Linda's dying wish. They built their version on my foundation, and they forgot I was holding it up. When I left, their version collapsed. Mine finally stood. I'm 70 now. January. Turned 70 last month. Carl and Dennis threw me a party. Small, cake, candles, friends, real friends, people who see me. I don't know if I'll ever talk to Greg again, or Kyle, or Mason. Maybe, someday, if they've learned, if they've grown, but I don't need them to. I don't need their apology. I don't need their understanding. I needed my dignity back. And I took it. They thought I needed them. Turns out I just needed the deed to prove it was always mine. I plant tomatoes, I play chess, I read books, I laugh, I'm free. And that's enough. If this story made you think, share it with someone who needs to hear it. If you know someone being treated like I was, invisible, taken for granted, disrespected in their own home, remind them they have power even when they feel powerless. Respect isn't inherited, it's earned. And when a family forgets that an elder's sacrifice built their foundation, they lose the right to stand on it. Thank you for listening.